Welcome back to the ASUG News Studio. My name is Tom Whalegum, co-editorial director of ASUGnews.com. Delighted to have in the studio John Rathje. Welcome.
Thank you.
John, you are Director of Application Development and Support in the Office of Information Technology at Central Michigan University.
I am indeed.
And not the first CMU guy we had earlier. We had Art Worster on here talking about.
Art's a great man. He has a great deal of experience in the whole world of SAP, but certainly in the area of process engineering.
Yep. Great. Well, you are here to talk a little something different than that. You're doing a presentation on leveraging SAP and Microsoft for reporting and dashboards at CMU. And I wanted to kind of highlight some of the things. We had a great conversation on the phone beforehand. Can you talk a little bit about the current SAP environment and the data warehousing strategy you have now, and then we'll go into some of the things that you're going to be talking about in your presentation.
Okay, very good. I suspect that most organizations believe they're unique as it relates to their implementation of SAP, and we're no different. We actually are one of the first universities in the US to go ahead and not only implement SAP for the purpose of running our business, but also we teach and train as it relates to SAP and an alliance partner there. We also were one of the first and still one of the few who have actually implemented the SAP student system as well. So in those respects we're pretty unique, but we took it one step further. We also have hosted our environment with an outsourcing provider, so the key there is for us to really focus on our core competency, making sure that we're providing value on top of the application, rather than worrying too much about whether or not it's running and whether or not we have a good disaster recovery plan. We let others take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to our data warehouse strategy, we looked to implement a strategy in about 2007, and we really had to think about who we were and what we were as an institution as it related to reporting. So we had to do a lot of bootstrap, build it from scratch, really help people understand how a data warehouse could be a benefit for us running the business, because we wanted to be a data-driven organization, but we really didn't have the data in a consistent form that really allowed our executives to do what they needed to do with it. So over the course of a couple of years, we built it. We built it slowly, unfortunately. And we're in a good position now where we're actually making great use of the SAP technology, and we're integrating that with some Microsoft technology to do some of the presentation.
So what do the executives want to do with the data? What was the, I'm sure they had a million ideas about what they could and should and wanted to do, but what was the main thing?
In the world of higher education, we care about a couple of things. We care about recruiting our students, and we care about retaining our students, and of course, in the course of retaining the students, we want to make sure they have a good user experience, good student experience, and we graduate them on time, and they become good citizens, and they become good alumni of the university. But we didn't have the data to help us understand how were some of our campaigns doing as it related to bringing in students that meet a certain demographic or certain element of really what fits well at Central Michigan University. We didn't have good indicators, quick indicators, or common indicators that indicated what were the factors of success for a student along the way. Those really ended up being the first business drivers for us, excuse me. And our goal was to build a student model, the student life cycle model, and that really is what has been the impetus and the driving force to get some of the value out of the SAP technology as well.
When you say data warehousing, that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Maybe talk from a business or the collegiate, your user's point of view, and then also from a technical point of view, and tell us kind of what you mean by that.
A data warehouse is a collection of data attributes and data elements that are important in decision making. We really needed to identify a common source, a single version of the truth. We had a number of reports that told us what our enrollment was, so if you asked 5 different people from 5 different reports, we had 5 different answers. The idea is to make sure that we have harmonization across the university as it relates to the data that we have, so that we can take data and turn it into information, we can take information and turn it into knowledge, and we can take our knowledge and turn it into wisdom as it relates to how we want to run the organization. And not only that, data warehouse combines different data elements that you can look at in different ways to make some assumptions, perhaps, that help you drive your decisions that you couldn't associate in the past, because those data elements were in disparate systems. So we're bringing that together, we're putting business logic on top of it. The business logic is consistent. So if you ask what something means, like what's an enrollment, believe it or not, it took a long time to define what an enrollment was. But now once we have that, it can be used across the board, will be used the same all the time, and that's a key factor for what we need.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like a retailer, right? What does a customer mean, or what is
you need
street
to have,
address?
exactly, you need to have a common definition so you can talk the same language when you're making decisions.
Right. You're obviously a big SAP shop, but also Microsoft as well. Can you talk about, I mean, it seems like all the time there's, renewed interest in a SAP Microsoft partnership, and here's going to be a new product. How have you guys taken both of those and figured out how it can help you?
Well, part of it was out of necessity. We're a pretty lean organization, so we didn't have a lot of resource that we could apply into different technology stacks, and we couldn't afford to actually bring up the same technology in two different stacks. So we're leveraging SAP to really do all of the key business for us and manage all of the key data for us.
What would those be?
So SAP is managing all of our HR, financials, and our student system, as I mentioned.
Okay.
We have some materials and some plant in there and some grants management. But we also have the data warehouse. So we use the BEX utility and all of the ETL that pulls the data out of the ERP into our data warehouse. But then we leverage tools and existing technologies that allow SAP and Microsoft to really cohabitate and work well together. We have a series of developers who can do things on the Microsoft platform that works very well for us. And we have some folks who understand SAP who can really leverage where the data is at and bring it together in different ways. So we're using service calls, we're using some of the built-in technologies that either Microsoft or SAP have developed independently, but we're also looking at some of the technologies that they're building together. So the Duet Enterprise is something we're very interested in looking at. We have not yet done an application with that, but it is clearly something that we're going to look into quite seriously.
Right. Integration issues, probably top of mind. How have you approached that and kind of tackled that topic?
Integration issues probably had a couple of things that helped us understand whether or not we could or couldn't. Some of it was just talking to folks and saying, how do you do this? Some of it was reading about what other folks have attempted to do or tried to do or successfully have done. And then the third component was really us getting underneath the covers and saying, how will it work? How can it work? Do we have the right versions, and are all the technology pieces in place for us to take advantage of what's there? I would say the latter is probably the best part of the learning for us. We identified things that worked well for us. We identified things that didn't. The great thing about two big organizations and two progressive organizations like SAP and Microsoft is they're really looking to find ways to advantage their customers. And we appreciate that in both of those technology providers.
What about, we talked earlier about getting user buy-in to these, they've got a lot of ideas about things, probably more ideas than you may like, but that's such a key topic. And, if you don't get that buy-in, there's going to be shelfware and very little ROI. What's been your strategy for that?
I'd like to say we really have it down, but I think we're learning along the way too. But the key is to listen. It's to understand what they really need, rather than trying to give them something that they don't need. And trying to reduce the complexity that is involved in the technologies. The technologies today are pretty robust, and as a result of the robust nature of them, there can be some complexities. You want to remove that from them. You want to shield them from that so that they can adopt. And when they see that their business process is being enabled more effectively, that tends to grow the momentum. It's hard for us to get up on a table and say, hey, we did a great job. It's a lot easier for one of our user areas to get up and say, hey, we were looking for something, they provided it, it does what we need, and now we want more.
Right. You come here and you'll see a lot about SAP innovation, new stuff coming down the pike. How do you guys go about, making sure that what SAP thinks is new for your roadmap might not necessarily be what you guys want to do? How do you help differentiate that?
That's a great question. And with the rate of technology innovation and change, it's actually quite a difficult thing to keep on top of. But we listen to what the technology providers are doing. We listen to some of the early adopters, and we try to get some very honest feedback about how did it work for you? What was the problem you were trying to solve? Why did you go that direction? And we'll weigh that against our own skill sets, our own temperament, our own abilities to perhaps either overcome some of their challenges or actually meet some of the same objectives that they were looking for. Ultimately, we need to trust our technology providers. We need to really have a relationship with them that helps us and advantages us along the way. And again, I think with SAP, we've gotten a pretty honest assessment from them. Right. They've told us when things aren't ready for us because they've gotten to know us.
Right. When you get into some of these ASUG sessions or when people come to your session, can you talk just a little bit about how important it is to have that sharing, that honest conversations with your peers who are doing that and the value of ASUG?
It's critical. It's critical because all of us are working to do something more effective for our organizations, and we don't have the time necessarily to try it all. So we have to have a network of friends, peers, organizations that have similar needs, they have similar ideas, they have similar thresholds of tolerance that we do, so that we can learn from each other. And I think that that sort of learning, that sort of collaboration is key. ASUG is obviously a critical part of that, a very effective part of that, something that we're very grateful that we're able to plug into and contribute towards as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And your session is?
My session is tomorrow, which is Wednesday, from 1:45 to 2:45.
Very good. Well, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
For more videos, go to asugonline.com as well as asugnews.com, and thank you for stopping by and watching.